Thank you very much for joining us once again for Computer Insider. I have to admit that I was deeply moved once again and very impressed by this year's Remembrance Day services. Every fall I worry that we're not doing enough to say thank you to all of those who stepped up to defend our freedom. And every year I'm more impressed than the last as how we as a nation remember the countless thousands who served. My big surprise this year came when I saw a TV commercial from Ancestry.ca who were offering free access to Canadian military records on Remembrance Day. Normally, Ancestry.ca is a pricey service that lets you search for information on your family history, so getting a chance at a free search seemed like a nice way to see what information was available on both of my grandfathers, one who served with the Canadian Army and the other with the British Army. After entering the search criteria, I quickly found myself reading the induction documents from the Canadian Army. A few clicks later, and I was reading the notes that were filed detailing his decorations and medals. The search for information on my father's father was somewhat less successful, but between restrictions from Ancestry.ca and what would appear to be poor record keeping by the British Army, the documentation available was more limited. Now, though, I was on a roll, so my wife suggested we look up her uncle who was killed in France in 1944. A complete bomb out at Ancestry.ca. My guess is they don't have access yet to World War II records, so there was no information available there at all. So we expanded our search to the Book of Remembrance, which lists every Canadian killed in action. Again, we entered the search criteria, knowing his name and year of death, and quickly found ourselves on page 460 of the book. I visited the Book of Remembrance before, but this time I discovered there was more information if you scroll down beyond the fancy script, listing everybody on the page with a link for more information. This page for us was a little bit on the sad side because there was no real information about the person. It listed his rank, the date he was killed, plot information, a map of the cemetery, and a link to his marker, but nothing about the man, who he was, his family, other than his parents' name and city of residence, nothing else. As it turns out, my wife is the custodian of her family's memorabilia, so we dug out her records, found some pictures of Uncle Lloyd, scanned them into the computer, and uploaded them to the people who manage the Book of Remembrance. Our hope is that next year, when family and the curious visit the book, they'll see Uncle Lloyd in a picture with his mother, and remember that all the names listed have parents, families, and friends who were devastated when they heard of his or her death. In fact, when you think about it, with this space being so inexpensive and technology so robust, it'd be a great idea for all of us to go through our family records and make sure that everybody who died in the service of this country is remembered as a person, with pictures and anything else that puts a human face on their memorial. My Remembrance Day, by the way, finished with a high mark when I got to my email to send out the information I'd found to other family members and found out that I had received 2 messages. One from my second cousin with a picture of my Uncle Rod with a plane he flew, and one from my son with a picture of his grandfather taken as he prepared to go to England in 1944. Maybe we are maturing as a country, as Canadians from sea to shining sea do seem to have carried the torch a little bit further this year. Reporting for Computer Insider, I'm Bob Pritchard.